Welcome everybody to Forza Horizon 4, and today we're taking a look at the 1991 Bentley Turbo R. Now this was produced from 1985 to 1997, with 7,230 of them being made, with the R standing for roll holding, which helped set it apart from the Mulsanne Turbo that it would eventually replace. And yeah, they achieved the roll holding aspect of this car by increasing the stiffness of the vehicle by 50%. They did this by upping the anti-roll bar rates by 100% in the front and 60% in the rear, while also increasing the dampening. A panhard rod to anchor the rear subframe was also introduced, reducing the side-to-side movement in the corners. But the spring rates remained the same as on the Mulsanne, because at the end of the day, as much as they wanted to improve road holding, nobody wants a Bentley that's uncomfortable to be in when driving. So yeah, they kept the comfort aspect of this car, but while also improving the handling by a remarkable standard. Also gave it wider tyres and alloy wheels to help even more. And yeah, this is a cracking car. Even though it weighs 5,313 pounds, which is nearly as much as a Bentayga, it really does not feel its weight because of the handling improvements that have been given to it. And yeah, it actually feels really rather quite agile, which you wouldn't expect for a car as lengthy as this and as heavy as this is, but it really is. And yeah, it's a car that if I had the money, or was given the money to buy any car I wanted, it would be this car. In all honesty, it's just a glorious vehicle in a lot of ways, and the interior is part of that. Sure, it's not festooned with technology like a modern Bentley would be, but just the simplicity of just having a lot of leather, a lot of wood. You got a really nice view of the bonnet. You got no real, thick A pillars or B pillars that are obscuring your view, and yeah, you got a lot of nice shiny stuff for the vents and the door panels and stuff. And yeah, just a really rather nice place to be. I also like the dials as well, white on black, which is my favourite kind of dial. And yeah, you've even got a few dials in the middle there to tell you your heat, your temperature pressure. You got your fuel obviously, and you've also got your oil pressure as well. And then you've got a clock down there, and then you've got a outside temperature, and you've got batteries as well. So yeah, you got plenty of information coming at you, but it's not, bombarding you with information. And yeah, it's also quite roomy in the back, as you would expect for a Bentley. So if you're going to get chauffeured around, as you can see, you've got all of the legroom that you could be asking for. And that's with the seats as they are. You could obviously push the passenger seat forward if you wanted, and have even more legroom. So yeah, even though there's not much in the rear to do like you would be on a modern Bentley, just the fact that it's as comfortable as can be is always a plus, especially in comparison to contemporary cars from the day. And you can also bring along 3 passengers, and yeah, have plenty of room in the boot for all of their luggage as well, because as you can see, it is a cavernous in there for all of your luggage needs. Also got twin exhausts to emphasise the sportiness of this vehicle, but outside of those twin exhausts, yeah, it does look a lot like a Mulsanne Turbo. So it's really rather discreet, despite having a lot more in the way of road holding and a lot more in terms of performance on the go as a result. And yeah, it's also got the formidable engine under the bonnet that has become synonymous with the Bentley name. It's a 6 3/4 litre turbocharged V8 engine, producing 328 horsepower and 487 pounds-feet of torque. So yeah, it's not probably the most powerful saloon car from the time in terms of horsepower, but yeah, I'd give you a challenge if you could find a car with more torque than this that is a saloon car, because yeah, that is a hefty amount. And to be honest, the only real problem with this car is its automatic gearbox, because this is unfortunately a car from the time where they were only using a 3-speed automatic. If it was a 92 or after, then it would have been a 4-speed automatic, which would have been a better gearbox to have. An extra gear obviously means you got more chance to use the power, and you got more options on the go and stuff like that. But outside of that, yeah, I love everything about this car. Love the looks, love the interior, love the engine, love the power, love the torque, and I love the handling. But to see what the handling really is like, let's get out there and see what this car can do. So yeah, even though this is obviously quite an agile car for a vehicle of this size and weight, it's still a large car, and you have to keep that in mind. But luckily, because it's obviously got an automatic gearbox, it's not the most sprightly of things, which I know sounds like a negative, but to be honest, it really isn't, because even though this is a car for road holding, it's not a sports car out and out. road holding means, you know, just having all of the safety and refinement of a car that can handle, while also still being comfortable and yeah, easy to use. So yeah, even though R nowadays on added onto a car might mean sporty and you know, faster and harsher to drive, it in this terms of this car, it basically just means better to drive, but not to the point where, you know, you're going to be shaking your teeth over bumps or struggling to keep hold of it. So yeah, I like that kind of, like, you know, outlook on what a vehicle should be able to do. And because it's got that massive V8 with a turbocharger on it and all of that horsepower and torque, it's still not a slouch once it actually gets going. 0 to 60 in 6.670 seconds, which is pretty damn good if you think about how much this weighs and the fact its power and torque is somewhat strangled by that 3-speed automatic. 0 to 100 in 19.350 seconds, which is decent, but yeah, could be better. And I really got a really rather decent top speed of 149 miles an hour, which, yeah, is still pretty good. But again, it's not a car that's going to be rushed by any means. But again, I like that idea of a car that has lots of horsepower and torque in reserve, but isn't going to be rushed. Granted, it would be a little bit better of a car if it had that 4-speed auto, but I'm not going to drag on this car too much just for having one less gear than would be preferable, because yeah, on the whole, it's just a glorious vehicle. I'm going to let you listen to the engine for a little bit now that we've gained some speed. So yeah, despite having all that horsepower and torque and being quite a large engine, it's still really whisper quiet, even for 1991, which, you know, it's 29 years ago now, nearly 30 years, and yeah, despite the fact that it's quite a large engine, and obviously technology back then in terms of keeping engines quiet is nowhere near as good as it is now. It just sounds really nice. It's not, you know, ostentatious or anything like that, and in fact, in a lot of ways, it's really rather quiet. But it's got this really nice, low, menacing growl to it that I really rather enjoy. And yeah, at the end of the day, a Bentley is not going to be driven like you drive it on this game. It's going to be, you know, cruising speed at motorway speeds and the like, which is where this car would be, yeah, mostly used at, and yeah, therefore really rather quiet. So yeah, it's a superb car. It's probably my favourite car that's been put in the game via the festival playlist. I'm struggling to think of a car that I've preferred more than this, but yeah, it is part of the festival playlist, and that means that you basically just have to get this car by doing a free race championship, which is fairly easy, especially since you're in retro saloons in A-class or above, so or actually just A-class, I think. So yeah, it's pretty quick to do that championship because they're not long races or anything, and you are in A-class cars after all, and then you can get your hands on this magnificent vehicle. And yeah, without a doubt, one of my favourite vehicles in the game via the festival playlist, and probably easily top 10 in terms of cars on the game overall. So yeah, get out there and get it if you haven't already. It has only been out a couple of hours as of recording this video, but yeah, still a sensational vehicle, and yeah, I hope they bring more Bentleys from this kind of period to the game, because yeah, we've had certain Bentleys added to this game that I've loved. Obviously we've had the 8 litre and the 4.5 litre that have added to this game, but I'd like more 70s, 80s, 90s cars from Bentley, to be honest. Nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.